Here's the actual reason. According to me, hi, I'm Dr. Owen Scott Muir. I'm a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. And I work with suicidal people, often youth. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. However, the product he was selling, human children, that was really popular. The scale of how popular that was is important to understand. Just one of his bank accounts had over 4,000 wire transfers totaling over $1.1 billion. What he was selling, people were buying. Now we're going to get into a little epidemiology. That's a rate of medical problem in the population. 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys. That's 20% of all women and 5% of all men will be victims of child sexual assault. And that's just when they're young people. That's before we get into the sexual assault of adults. For reference, the amount of adults with cardiovascular disease in the state of New York is only 17.7%. So more people are girls who've been abused sexually as children than will have cardiovascular disease. This is a public health problem. And all of the people who've been abused in this way, watching the news, what do you think they notice? Look, Epstein's dead, and he got to either or whatever, I don't know, and frankly, I barely care, because what I care about is the people who are suffering now. And those victims of abuse have serious problems often throughout their entire lives. They have high rates of suicidality, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, substance use disorders, you name it. It's like the highway to having a psychiatric disorder to be abused as a child. By the way, only 4% of the population are sexually attracted to children, and only a smaller fraction of them ever offend. So the vast majority of this abuse of children is done by people who are not pedophiles. It's not them, it's people who take advantage of children even if they're not explicitly attracted to them. It's by victimizers, because many, many more people like to victimize others and choose to do so than are pedophiles. Now, all of those people who've been abused and who are suffering and may have a psychiatric illness, and some of that's PTSD and could be triggered, well, all of them are having to watch the news now. And what do you think they notice? They notice that the lesson they learned as young people is equally true today, which is that nobody cares. Nobody cares about the abuse of children, or at least not enough to actually hold any of the abusers accountable. That's the lesson we're teaching by making sure that none of the people who patronized Mr. Epstein's establishment face the appropriate justice. It's not okay. But it's also what's happening, and victims notice. And there are more of those victims around than any of us would like to think.